Hello and welcome back to Beers, Bourbon, and Games. I'm your co-host Mike. With me is Chris.
Hello.
Today we are reviewing Furnace. Let's get into it. All right, well, let's jump right into it. Chris, you want to tell us a little bit about the game?
Sure. Okay, so this is Furnace. It's a game that was created by Ivan Lashin from Arcane Wonders, puts it out. And let me read you a little bit of the game overview. The players take on the roles of 19th century capitalists building their industrial corporations and aspiring to make as much money as they can by purchasing companies, extracting resources, and processing them in the best combinations possible. The game is played over 4 rounds, and each round has 2 phases. The auction and production. During the auction phase, the players bid on companies. The one with the highest bid receives the company, while all lower bids receive compensation, which sometimes can be even more profitable. During the production phase, the players operate their companies in order to gain, process, or sell resources, and eventually upgrade their companies to maximize their profits. The players should optimize their production chain and find the most effective way to gain the most money, as the wealthiest player wins the game. So, I mean, that's a lot there, but as you can see, the first thing I have to say about this game that we purchased this game at Gen Con. So when we passed by the booth and we just saw the box art, it catches your eye and sort of what's that? You sort of just look at it because really the box art is just amazing. So we investigated and we took a look at it. We thought, yeah, this would be a good game to review on the channel. Okay, so now we're going to take a look at some of the features of the game that we kind of look at to tell if it's a game that we think that you'll like. So the first thing we're going to look at is the hardness. How hard is this game to play? And we really honestly, we went back and forth a little bit because we quite weren't sure if it's one of those games where in the beginning, when you're learning the game, you have to kind of go slow. You kind of have to figure with a few things out here and there. But once you figure that out, the second game, I think, what did the first game take us? Almost an hour?
It took us about an hour on the first game.
The second game took us
about 30 minutes.
30 minutes because we figured it out and boom, we went right through it. So I don't know, what do you think about the hardness on this?
After us talking about it, took us a little while, like you said, to kind of figure out where should we grade this. We grade on a scale of 1 to 5. If this is your first video you've seen with us with board game reviews. The bidding mechanic is super simple. The actually accessing the cards takes a little bit to get used to, but once you do, it's a very simple game. And the nice thing about it is you don't have to wait on everybody during the production phase, like we was talking about earlier. Everybody kind of does their own thing and then finishes. So you kind of have a little trust element there too. So we went back and forth between a 2 and a 3, back and forth a lot, and we were like, let's just grade it a 2.5 because that's kind of how we feel about it.
Yeah.
It's not very hard. It's not very easy. It's right there in the middle.
Right.
I do not think even some younger kids would have a horrible time playing this. Maybe like 10-year-olds, I don't think would have a hard time playing it. So
exactly. Yeah, I feel the same way. We thought 2 was a little bit too easy. 3 was a little bit, too hard. It's sort of like, the 3 bears. 2.5 is perfect.
You're right.
So right in the middle. So that's how it came up with that rating. So now we're going to talk about how long. I think we've already kind of covered that, but
yeah, the game is supposed to play between 30 and 60 minutes, which I find to be a very fair estimate. Our first game, when we were there were 4 of us playing. I had played it before at Gen Con and actually tested the game. The other ones hadn't. As they were learning the game, and we had to learn the cards and what the cards did, how resources changed hands and things like that, it took about 60 minutes to play the first game. But like we said, the second game was only 30 minutes. It would have gone faster too if I know I had to stop a few times because people took stuff I wanted.
Yeah. And that's kind of I don't know if we're going to cover this in another area, but that's, yeah, I think the game mechanics, we'll talk about that. So, but yeah, like I said, but this is with every game. I mean, this is not just, you just don't get a game and say, oh yeah, I can just whip this out in 30 minutes.
Right.
No, you've got to kind of go through the rules and figure out how things work and how, the mechanics of it. But once you figure that out and this game in particular, you get that feeling of apprehension when you first start playing. You're like, okay, how hard is this going to be? But once you're done with it, you're like, oh, that wasn't bad. That's all right. This is good. We can do this. And then the next game took us 30 minutes. So and the more you play it, the funner it gets because you know what you're looking for, you know what you're trying to do. 30 minutes. 30 to 45 minutes, maybe even 20 minutes.
Right. I can see a 20-minute game if everybody just knows what they're doing and they're just going through the phases really fast. Yeah, very easy. And part of the time in the first one is too, and we've said this before in other videos, we learn better by playing than just reading the rules. We'll go through the rules, and as we play the game, we go back and check things and figure things out.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how we learn. We're more of a hands-on learning than actually just reading the rules.
Reading the rules, yeah, right. So. All right, the next category we're going to look at is aesthetics and build quality. So what do you think about this one?
I love the look of this. Now, this mat is a separate purchase, which we'll get to later, but I highly recommend getting it. I love the coins. I like how they look. I like the little wooden, this is coal, the little wooden steel, little wooden barrels over there. Supposed to be barrels of oil, but we've called radioactive barrels forever. This is your bidding system tokens, which we'll get to in game mechanics. But the card art is really beautiful. It's all these industrial buildings from Industrial Revolution.
Yep.
I really like that aesthetic, steampunk kind of. That aesthetic has always spoken to me. So I always like looking at that. But overall, talking about this, I would have to give this a 3 on it. Reason being is there's a few little nitpicky things we have, like the tokens. Not all of them, they're painted. And not all of them are, some of the paint's chipping off on some of them. Some of the wooden tokens are cracked. So maybe having those be plastic,
right,
where it's screen printed on there would be a little bit better, a little more quality. Yeah. That might raise the price up on it though, but I don't think it'd be that much.
Yeah.
Having these be plastic would be fine, but honestly, I like the little wooden cubes. They work great.
Yeah.
I'd love to have a metal coin option, but that's just me.
Right.
It's a very good game. The art is what brings it up to a 3 in my mind.
Yeah.
And little nitpicky things like this, where this is your turn counter, and as it turns, it just rotates down. That's really cool to me. That just hits my spot. That makes me just love it.
Yeah.
Anything that does stuff like that is really cool.
Yep. I'm kind of the same. The disc, the wooden disc here, some of them are a little bit oblong, and but that could be manufacturing. But like I said, these are very nitpicky things that we're looking at.
Right.
But if quality of game is something that is important to you, we want to make sure to convey to you what we found we didn't quite like about it. So, right. But he's right. The card art, again, it's got that steampunk feel. We'll show you some of the card art while we're talking about it. But it's a solid 3 for me out of 5. I think is a good number. Okay, so the next up is game mechanics. What do you think? How do you feel the game mechanics kind of fit the genre, fit this kind of game?
I think the game fits really well for this era it's set in. Let me give you a quick rundown of how the game is played. Let me get my thoughts in order. Okay. So the game starts off with everybody getting their basic company card. These are very easy to see because the back is different from all the other backs and all the other cards. This gives you your starting resources, which is at the top. So this card right here I would get a coal and a steel. So that is my starting resources, and this is my starting hand, basically. Then everybody takes turns, starting with the first player. That's the first player token. Bidding. You have 4 of these wooden tokens.
Disc. And they graduate down from sizes. So 3 fits on a 4, 2 fits on the 3, and 1 fits on the 2.
Right. And the higher the number, the more you're bidding, basically. So say I wanted this first card, and I really, really wanted that card, I would put my 4 on it because that would guarantee me that card. The reason that guarantees that card is that you cannot have the same number on a card or the same color on a card. So that prevents me from bidding on a card again or Chris overriding that bid eventually.
Right.
But what it does do is he can bid a 2 on top of it. And what that does is on the top of the cards, there is a resource just like you're starting. And if Chris does not win that card, he gets that resource times the number you put on there. So there is 2 coal here. He would get that times 2. And you continue to go through bidding until everybody goes round robin around the table until everybody's run out of chips, and you go through. So we start here and be like, oh, Chris gets 4 coal, and then I win the card. No one bid here, so the card goes away. Here, Chris can take 2 coal, turn into 1 barrel one time. He set a 1 on there. I win the card again. Chris just wins that card, and so forth and so forth and so forth. Once you do it a few times, it gets really easy. I did find myself we found a few people tripped up thinking that 4 would give them 4 at the top. It's just one of those little mechanics things you had to learn over time.
Yeah.
Now, once you do that, you take your card, you build yourself a tableau. So this is a tableau building game. And then you run through all your cards. Now, you can do your cards in any order you want. And your object of the game is to get more money than anybody. So your money or victory points. So you can do them in any order you want to try to maximize your profit. So let's say this base card, I start off again at technology, and then I go on to the next section, which I can spend 2 coal. Let's say I had 1, 2 coal. I can spend 2 of those coal to gain 2 money. There's a 2x here, which means I can do it twice. That middle number over top of the line tells you how many times you can do that. Then we get to the bottom, where I can spend a technology and a coal to upgrade a card. What that is these cards here, when you win them, they start off with just 1 face, and this is kind of grayed out. When you upgrade the card, it flips over, unlocking that. So if this card was upgraded, I could turn I could steal twice into 2 money each time, and then I get 3 coal on top of it. So you're kind of balancing your tableau out, upgrading it, trying to figure out the best way to gather enough resources to sell them off to make money. And that is basically the game. You do 4 rounds of that, and whoever has the most money at the end wins. If there's a tiebreaker, the tiebreakers are based on resources, but we never really had that.
No. The game mechanics are really simple. The thing that was kind of weird for us is each player takes like a token to show that that's them. We talked about it, and we felt like maybe the creators of the game looked at the game and said, I don't know, this doesn't seem like a lot. Maybe we could throw in like, little tokens to represent each person like they do maybe in Monopoly, or not Monopoly, but in Monopoly. You've got like the car or the dog or the thimble. So we kind of felt like this was maybe because these don't do anything. They just sit in front of you to represent you in the game. So we thought maybe it might have been a little bit of a throw in to maybe give it a little bit more aesthetic pleasing item to get you to buy the game. We don't know, but that was kind of a different for us. We've never seen that before, but yes, the aesthetics and the build quality are just awesome. Or we're talking about the game mechanics, but again, the game mechanics are simple. It's like I said, once you learn how to do it, you're basically putting a disc on a card, and if that card doesn't have a 4 on it, and you put a different number, then you're just basically getting what's at the top, and if you put a 4 on it, you're getting the card. So again, it's relatively a simple thing.
What would you rate the game mechanics?
Probably a 3.5. It's simple, but it's not. I don't know. There's only so many different things that can happen, and then also something I found is some of the cards that I had in my tableau, I couldn't actually use. So that was kind of disappointing because either one, I didn't have the right combination of barrels and steel or to get what was on the card. So I just had to kind of let those go. But I mean, that's again another small nitpicky kind of thing. So
right. It was a very fun game overall, with those little nitpicky things, but it just kind of hurt it in our eyes as far as we wouldn't give it like a 4 or definitely not a 5 like we would with some games.
Yeah.
It's definitely just kind of a fun game, which rolls us right into our next point of replayability of this game. It feels like one of those games where you couldn't just play it over and over and over and over again in my eyes. We have some games that you could there's so much variety and so much different things that happen that you could just constantly just toss out those games.
Yeah.
This definitely feels like one of those games. It'd be fun to play a couple of times in a row, but eventually it would be like, hey, I just don't want to play that right now. But it's definitely a good one to have in your stable to play.
Yeah.
Which is why I would probably give this a 3.
Yeah. I think this is a game that's built for you have some friends over and you plan on playing a large game. But to kind of get you warmed up, you have everybody over, it's 5 o'clock, you're done eating, you're ready to sit down, you talk a little bit. You break this out, you play it for about 30 minutes, and then you maybe 1 or 2 games, and then you move on to your larger game that you came over to play. I don't think this is a game that you'd invite people over to play all night long, because after maybe the 3rd playthrough, you're like, okay, I'm pretty much done. But again, this game is one that we feel that is worthy of being in your collection for that reason. You may have people over and you don't know what to play. So you're like, okay, well, why don't we play Furnace for now, play it. And as we're playing, we'll figure out what other game we want to play. Once you're done, you put it away and you pull out the game that you decide you want to play. So again, it's a 3 for me means it's good to have in your collection and it's good to play, but it's not a game that you want to play over and over and over, like Mike said.
Right.
If it was a game like a 5 game that was, rated at 5, that's a game you'd want to pull out every time you meet with your gaming group. 1 would be, I don't even want it in my collection. I hate this game so bad, it's not even funny.
Oregon Trail.
Yeah. So 3 is like I said, it's good to have in your collection. It's good to play a couple of times, and then maybe a month later have somebody come over and play it again.
That is one thing I want to touch on about the replayability. There is some cards in here called capitalist cards that are different for everybody that you can use when you're after you've played once or twice and you've kind of got a grasp of the game. They give you things like one of them gives you an extra 2 that you can spend on when you're bidding phase. Some of them give you like additional coal every turn, or technology down there. You get free technology, things like that. To kind of add a little bit of variety to the game, but again, and that's what helped push it up to a 3. But again, it's not enough to make this something like we said that you just want to play constantly all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but again, it is definitely a game that's worthy of being in your collection. And with saying that, we're going to move into the availability and cost of this game. So how easy is it to find this game?
Surprisingly pretty easy. Amazon has it. Some of the online game stores have had it, which we say a million times, try to support your local game store first. If you can't find it there, go ahead and get it on Amazon. I was able to find this pretty easy, and you can get it directly from the manufacturer. You can get it directly from Arcane Wonders. They have Furnace, they have the mat, and they have the promo card you can order straight from them. The game itself runs you about $40, $39.99. The mat is $12 or $12.99. Cool thing about the mat is it fits inside the box. I know that just gives me good warm tinglies. I don't know how many times you have a mat and you can see some rolled up stuck in the back. I've got a big bunch of them over here behind me too.
Yeah.
But having it fit in the box is just great.
Yep.
And the promo card was, I think, $1. So that's pretty cool if they actually are selling the promo card online, because normally you don't get those at conventions.
That's right.
I missed out.
But But like we said, that's why it's worth having in your collection. It's not an expensive game, and it's one of those games where, and in your group there may be a couple of people that really latch onto this game. They love it and they want to play it every time you play. So the price for me, I think, is why I think it's a good game to have in your collection, because if this game was $100, and
No way.
no. But the price of the mat and the game itself it's worth having, I think.
Get you to about $55. Everything, it's promo card included.
Yeah,
it's definitely worth. Which brings us to my next point that I would recommend. Like he said, getting this game for. It's just fun. It really is. It's just a fun little game. It's a great one to pull out and do things with. You agree with that?
Yep. And when we were at Gen Con, it was very, very popular. By the end of I think we were getting ready to leave on Sunday, and we swung by, and on I think Thursday when we went in, it was everywhere. It was like a big wall of Furnace. By the time we passed the booth again, there was only a few copies left. There was no promo cards left, and no mats left. So it was a very popular game at Gen Con, and it sold well. So yes, I would recommend this game to purchase it and have it as part of your collection, as a game that you either casually play, if you have friends that play games, but they just come over for dinner and hey, why don't we pull out a game and play? This might be one that you want to play with those people that come over, but it's not one of those games where they're going to be there till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Come
over, they have dinner, you talk, play Furnace a couple of times, and then 10 o'clock they're ready to go home and they've had a great evening. That's perfect. That's a perfect space for this game.
Exactly. Well, that's it for this review. Let us know what you thought in the comments down below. Do you like this game? Do you agree with our numbers? Would you give it higher? Would you give it lower? Just let us know. Or maybe we're just dumb.
That's a good possibility.
But if you like this review, we have other ones on the channel where me and Chris bicker back and forth about what's the best parts of these games. Hit that subscribe button and ring that bell for us. But I'm your co-host, Mike, and with me was Chris. And we'll see ya.